Everyone, take a look at the front board. Nobody got 100 on all three, so everybody should pay attention. And even if you got the problem right, pay attention. Maybe I'm going to say something that will help you with some other problem when we eventually get to the test. When you get your first test, you will see the same exact 3 sections. Maybe I'll have 4 problems instead of 5. It'll be a little bit shorter. If you do better on the translation section of the test, I take that grade and replace this grade. If you do better on the evaluation on the test, I take that grade and replace this grade. Same with the substitution. I'm going to tell you what I saw. What I was seeing, whoops, there we go, is that for the first one, people didn't understand those 2 terms. If I underline something, you underline it. Even if you haven't, even if you know what you're doing, underline those. Somebody raised their hand. Tell me what product looks like and tell me what cube root looks like. We're going to go over these in detail. Mariah? Multiplication. I don't want to see this for multiplication anymore. What I'd like to see, if you put anything in, is a little dot. So for product, you want a little dot. The 5 goes there. What does a cube root look like? Or what does, just tell me what does a root look like? Did everybody have one of those in that problem? That is from the word root. What about cube? Cube means we're putting a little 3 right here. And what should go inside here? X. And that's right here. So we had a 5. If it helps you to circle things, draw arrows, go ahead and do that. If you have not drawn something on here that corresponds to each of those pieces, then something went wrong. Multiply. Cube root. Cube root is different than cube. Some people had powers of 3. You're close. But when that root word shows up, you need to have that symbol. Underline less than. Underneath the words less than, write the word switch. What am I saying when I say switch? What am I switching? The order. So 9 does not go first. 9 goes last. It's still subtraction because it's less. But the square root of y comes first. What did I say you have to write down for root? The thingamajigger. The radical. What should go inside there? The y. Less than is the only one where you switch the position. Most of the time you're just looking at things in the order that they're given. It just happens to be an exception in English. When you say it that way, you're actually saying it in this order. I saw a lot of people who did not know what sum meant. What does sum mean? Addition. M squared. Do you see the word root in this one? So don't put a square root in here. Some people just they went square root crazy. Don't do that. M squared. How about twice? Kat, you were asking about that. Twice C is 2 times C. Some people put C squared. For twice C, that's what we want. It's just a matter of doing more examples and knowing your vocabulary. You'll notice the sideboard is bare right now. That's because they had to erase that for SATs or something that were going on. Those words will be back up there next class. You still have multiple choice questions on the SOL test. Do you guys know how to eliminate answers? Can you cross out answers on the SOL test as you go through it? That's what I would do here. I would find things that don't make sense. If we want this, if we want 2x squared y minus 8, do we want something where y is squared? Does that make sense? Is y being squared or is x being squared? Cross it out. Cross out what doesn't make sense. This has x squared down here for d, but is it increased by or is it decreased by? It's decreased because you got subtraction. So that doesn't make sense. Cross out what doesn't make sense. Like in C, that doesn't make sense. What does quotient go with? Division. Are we looking at division? So I didn't even have to know that B was correct. I just had to know that the other ones were incorrect. I need B. They said quantity squared instead of x squared. That's just more general. That's okay. As long as they didn't say that the y was squared, you were all right. So that one was B. Cats. Now that you know what twice looks like, what should we write down for number 5? If it's twice Mary's age, we're gonna put the 2 in front. Put the 2 in front, and if we want more than, plus 5. Some people were trying to figure out what John's age actually is. We can't do that until somebody tells us what Mary's age is. We were just looking for an expression. An expression doesn't have an equal sign. It's not an equation. It's just a bunch of letters and numbers. Take a look at your score for quiz number 1. Do you think you can score better, or at least the same, on the test when you see those same types of questions? Yeah. Evaluation. Everybody seemed to get something right in this section, but they made little mistakes. You know order of operations, but you didn't follow it. Raise your hand. Tell me what I should do first for number 1. Okay? Nope. Because remember PEMDAS? Do you guys remember this? What does the P stand for? Parentheses. What's in the parentheses? So I want to do that first. What's 3 minus 7? Put parentheses around it. That should have been your first step. Take a look. Did you do that as your first step? Some people got through that and then they wrote down an incorrect step there. What is anything squared? Is it positive or negative? Positive. It doesn't matter what's in there. That's going to be positive. Don't think about using the calculator. If you put in minus 4 squared, it's going to tell you negative 16. But if you put in parentheses, negative 4, parentheses squared, you'll get 16. Take a look. Did you have a negative 16 there? Did you then add up 9 and 16 and get 25? And then subtract 5 and get 20. Take a look. Where was your mistake? At the end of the period, you're going to finish up these corrections. Right now, you could be starting them or just listening. At the end of the period, you figure out what you did wrong. If you can't figure it out, you come up to my desk and we figure it out together. Today, we're going to try and complete these in class. But normally, you get to finish this all the way up to the next quiz or the next test. You usually have some time. These are pretty quick. We can probably get these done today. Figure out what you did wrong. Did you have a question? Okay.
I figured out what I did wrong.
Okay. Did I ask everybody to box in their answer?
Yeah.
You either circle or box in your answer at the end. I won't accept your paper next time if you don't box in your answer. But I don't want you to just box it in. I want you to check your work. I want you to actually go through the problem a second time, check your work, and make sure that you actually write down what your answer was. Some people had the correct answer here, and then they wrote down something else over here. Check yourself, then put a box around it. If you put a box around it, that tells me you took the time to check it. Don't just automatically say. A lot of you did 3 to the 4th and you got 81. How many people did that? For some reason, people wrote 81 and then they completely ignored it for the rest of the problem. They saw that and then they concentrated on 10 plus 2. What's 10 plus 2? 12. Everyone do this, because this is going to be important when we get to the complex problems later in the year. Automatically put parentheses on the top of a fraction. We want to do all that work before we do any division, because your calculator will give you the wrong answer. Calculator without parentheses thinks that you are just dividing the 2 by the 6, when we really want all of that stuff divided by 6. A lot of you got to that point and then things fell apart. You either forgot about the 81, or you said 12 divided by 6 was 6. What's 12 divided by 6? Check your work. What went wrong? What did I do first? I did the power first. I did the parentheses first. I did some division. Then I added them together. How many people totally forgot about the 81? Anybody do that? Go ahead. Put parentheses on the top. Do that automatically. Within that parentheses, what would you do first? Would you subtract or would you do the power of 2? Power of 2. Exponents are more important than addition and subtraction. So I want 36 first. 6 squared. Powers. If we look at PEMDAS, parentheses, then exponents. Everything else is not as important. Do the top first. 26. 13. Multiplication is not more important than division. So for this, I just go from left to right. I do 18 divided by 2. Then I do times 3. The reason we learn these rules is so that no matter what textbook you pick up, and in no matter what country you're in, you're doing these rules with numbers. These are international rules dealing with how you react to these symbols and these numbers. Everybody got part of number 5 correct, but then they lost track of what was going on. I know I've got to do all this stuff first. Take a look at how I wrote that. What does P stand for in PEMDAS? Parentheses. I got to do 10 minus 9 first. Don't worry about the power. Worry about this to start with. What's 10 minus 9? Put that in there. Now I've got to start worrying about the powers. What is 1 to the 3rd power? What's 1 times 1 times 1? 1. I've still got a 4 out here. Don't worry about the 4. Do the parentheses. 9 plus 3 to the 4th. Is that correct? Is that right? Do I have that right? 4 minus 1, 3 to the 4. Something seems wrong here. Okay, I was looking at the back paper, sorry. How many people added up 9 and 3 and then did the power? The 9 is off to the side here. The 9 is all by itself. The 9 is not affected by that 4. The only thing that has that 4 is that 3. Didn't we just do 3 to the 4th? Right here? What's 3 to the 4th? 81. A lot of times when I give tests, I'll give little portions of problems that actually show up in different sections. This is 9 plus 81, which is just 90. Take a look what went wrong in that problem if you got it wrong. Quite a few people had partial credit on that. On the side of your paper, do you see plus 20? Do you see plus 10? You might even see plus 5 or plus 15. In this, for each of these tests, there were 5 problems, so they were 20 percentage points apiece. If you showed me anything, if you showed me enough so that I could figure out what you did wrong, you got half credit. Didn't matter how badly you botched the problem. If you could show me with your work, and I was able to go, okay, oh, he or she ignored the 81, or didn't divide this section right, or they forgot to do something with the exponent, you got half credit. Didn't matter how much your problem was wrong. If you can show me what's wrong, that's helpful. If you just write down an answer, then I have no clue what's going on. Page 2. Substitution. Anybody get 100 on this section? Any hundreds up there? No one? If you're not getting these correct, try to do what I do. Try something different. Write your work down. Whenever I substitute, I put in parentheses. So I'm putting in for K, I'm putting in for T. I've got little sets of parentheses, not to show you to do that first, but just to show where I have substituted. What did we say happens when you square anything? It becomes positive. How many people wrote negative 25 instead of 25? See if that's where you went wrong. Ignore everything else for a second. Ignore this, ignore this. You've got negative 2, 3, and negative 5. What does it mean when everything's next to each other? What operation? Put it in if that helps. What is negative 2 times 3 times negative 5? Positive or negative? Positive. Check and see. Do you have a positive 30 there or a minus 30? Then I've got plus 4 over here. What does it mean when 3 and 25 are next to each other? Multiplication. 75 plus 30 plus 4, 109. My guess is that if you made a mistake, it was probably because of positives and negatives. That is always going to turn into a positive. A negative times a negative gives you a positive. Let's substitute again. 4 minus 7. And I'm going to put big brackets around the top. They're not there, but I want to do all of that before I divide by the 2 and the 4. Do the top and bottom as if they were each a separate problem. What's 2 plus 4? 6. What are you going to do first on the top?
4 minus 7.
4 minus 7. What is that?
3.
Okay. We're okay up until this point. Some people added or subtracted 6 minus 3. What does it mean when two things are next to each other? Multiplication. This is negative 18 over 6. What's a negative divided by a positive? Negative 3. Take a look and see what went wrong. Is it because a negative sign went away? Is it because you were doing some division in your head instead of on the calculator? You've got calculators, so use them to check yourself. We got time today to go over things, so tell me to slow down if you need me to go over something. What are these symbols right here, 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 here? I can't tell you how many people totally ignored the absolute value, and that was the only thing they got wrong. 21 times 1/3 minus 24 times 1/2. 3 times 1/3, 8 times 1/2. Do not change these into decimals. You are going to run into trouble. 1/3 does not work out nice and easily into a decimal. Keep it as a fraction. Everybody, right now, type in 21. And what does it mean when things are next to each other? Multiplication. So 21 times, put it in parentheses. It's going to look this way. You'll have 21 times 1 divided by 3. That's how you should enter that on your calculator. Let it do the work for you. Let it do the work for you. 1 divided by 3, but put it in parentheses. If you have trouble with fractions, just put it in as a fraction, just use parentheses. What did that equal?
7.
All right. How about 24 and 1/2? 12. How about 3 times 1/3? 8 times 1/2. Take a look. Did you just, some people did 21 times 3. But it's not 21 times 3, it's 21 times 1/3. So they ended up with big numbers instead of little numbers. How many people did this and forgot about the absolute value? We need the absolute value. What's the absolute value of 5? Negative 5. 5. What does the absolute value do to the number? It makes it positive. So this becomes 5 plus 5, which equals 10. At the end of the period, if you're still not sure what went wrong, come to my desk. Do not leave the class until you understand what it was that you did wrong. Yes.
Ha ha ha, I already know.
What's your last name?
Noel, W-E-L.
Say it again.
N-O-W-E-L-L.
What if you do when you're done?
Number 4. Mistakes that I saw. That b is inside that square root. Some people put it on the outside. Question. What is the square root of 100? What is the square root of 100? What is it? 10. Now, once you find the square roots, take a look. Do I put another square root on that? No, it's just 10. You're done with that portion of the problem. Now we'll do the other portion. 75 over 5. What is 75 divided by 5? Take a look. What happens? Did you divide 75 by 5 and not get 15? Some people did that. Some people messed up the radical. Does everybody realize when I'm saying radical and root, I'm talking about the same thing?
Yeah.
Radical and root mean the same thing. Last one. A lot of people had trouble with. Need everybody looking up here. And even if you got this right, some people got it right by accident.
I feel like I'm one of those people like that.
When you do this problem, I'm going to erase some things. You leave it like this. I'm going to erase this for a second. And this. This is what you should have started with. You ignore everything else, focus on that. How do you get to cube root on your calculator?
To the math button.
Math button. Everybody press the math button. Press the math button. Go. Calculator. Press the math button. What's the fourth line underneath or inside the math button? You should see what Josh just said. Do you see that? Press 4 and that will come up. And then you can type in 27. What does that turn out to be? What do you get for the cube root of 27?
3.
You should get 3 out of all that. If you don't, come up to my desk later on and we'll take a look and make sure. Now put in the rest of the stuff. You got a 4 here and you got a power there. So you still got a 4 here. What do you do first? Do you do the parentheses or the exponent? P, PEMDAS. P comes first, so I do parentheses first. This is 12 squared. If you don't know how I got 144, if you don't know where I got 12 from, come and see me before the end of class when everybody's working on their homework. The most important part of this correction is not the work, it's the sentence you're going to give me. I need a complete sentence. Don't write down IDK. What does IDK mean?
I don't know.
Don't write down I don't know. Write down what it is that you just found out. Did you not do the cube root first? Did you do the power of 2 too early? Tell me what it was, a complete sentence. These boxes are just there to provide you space. You don't have to jam everything into one box. You can use this entire page for one problem if you want. I have a huge stack of correction sheets over there. Sometimes for a test, you might need 2 or 3 of these. So you use as much space as you need to for each problem. But just make sure you have one sentence over here explaining what you did wrong. This, it gets stapled to this, and it gets handed back in. I don't want these until the end of the period. Hold on to them for now. What you'll do is, at the end of the period, stapler's up here, I need some staples, I'll get that in there, and you put it in that pocket up there, but not until the end of class. Yes. Set that aside for now. We're going to take a look at like terms right now.
It's like, no,